Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, as I move my chair into my desk a little bit closer here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk in the southeast corner of Scotland, which is preparing itself for the landfall of Storm Floss, I think it's called. Something like that. But anyway, weird name for a storm. Sounds like something you would do if you had dental floss and had mistaken your dental floss for toilet paper. But anyway, yes, we have a storm about to make landfall in the early hours of the morning. And so we are expecting winds in excess of 90 miles an hour. So fortunately for us, we are leaving. We're going on vacation. We will be moving south of the path of the storm for three or 4 days. So there will be no Songwriting Simplified again this week, but we'll be back to normal from next week onwards, and then through until probably Christmas, when we will have a Christmas break as well. But otherwise, yeah, we are going to go a little further south from here, probably about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours further south from here. So it's hoped that when we get that far south, it will be basically just the outside edge of the storm. So winds will only be about 50 or 60 miles an hour, which is, that's pretty stormy. And it's going to be very, very, very rainy. They're talking about torrential rain accompanying the high winds. But obviously our home isn't going anywhere. So we've spent the day basically making sure that everything that can be tied down that is in our backyard is tied down. And hopefully we will not come back to any damage at all, preferably, but certainly, hopefully not very much in the way of damage. So, but we'll obviously have to wait and see. We're not going to be here to be able to assess the situation. So hopefully when we come back, the house will still have a roof on it and all of that. So it's a slightly nervy time here in Scotland. But for right now, it's actually remarkably still and quiet, which is what happens when you get, they call it the calm before the storm, because it's basically what they call the storm surge. What happens at this point in the storm is the tide tends to go very far out before it comes rushing back in, and the wind drops. And then as the front edge of the storm approaches, it starts to pick up. But for right now, I'm looking at my weather station and it's telling me that the wind is exactly 2 miles an hour. So, yeah, it's eerily still and eerily quiet. So yeah, so we are preparing for that. We're preparing for holiday. Hopefully, once we get tomorrow out of the way and we're there at our destination, hopefully it will not be too bad after that. Maybe Tuesday will be okay, and the rest of our week away will be fine, hopefully. So I will be back for next week's show for Sunday Night Live, but I will not be here on Wednesday. I will be down south, as they say here in Scotland. So you guys can enjoy basically another week without me. You lucky people. So we are a little bit low on numbers given that it's Sunday Night Live. We normally have way more people than this, but hopefully it will pick up. So if you have a question for tonight's show, and tonight's show is all about Studio One, it's all about recording, mixing, mastering, and all of the issues surrounding that. So if you've got a question that you want to ask, then please do what Craig from the W5 family has done and put at Jonny Lipsham Studios to start. And he has said, remind everyone to hit the like button. So please do what Craig says. Hit the like button. If you haven't done it yet, do it now, please. It helps me a lot, and hopefully it means I don't smack my microphone quite so much. But yeah, it helps me out a lot because it means it recommends this show to folks all over YouTube. And hopefully, as has happened at least once with Sunday Night Live, we have made it onto the YouTube homepage. And when that happens, a lot of people see that. When you go to youtube.com, the homepage, you see basically what is being recommended by the algorithm right there. And as has happened, this show has been recommended. So hopefully that'll happen again. And when that does, we'll get a little bit more exposure and we'll get more people at least curious to see what this show's about. So with that said, let's see who's here. Billy Morgan has restored his rightful place at being first in the door, followed by Daryl Harrison, and Tony Stringer is here as well. Chris Mrakner, who sent me an email with a great question for tonight, and also a great question for next week as well. So he has a twofer. So we already have a good idea of our topic for next week. But we're going to open the show with Chris's question very shortly. We got the W5 family. We've got Dave Barcelow here. We got Kyle Drajuziak. We have got Dave from Bops NY. And he says, thank you for allowing this bozo on your bus. You're welcome, my friend. I'm glad you're here. Who else do we have? We got Don Oliver. We got Keith from Radio Top Trumpet. We got Dwayne. We've got Bobby Booth, who has been to pretty much every Sunday Night Live that has ever been. And we have Sean Carr. Sean, very glad to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. For those of you who don't know Sean, Sean is awesome. He is a fellow bass player. He's also a police officer, which is cool. So we have somebody who can keep things nice and organized and keep the trouble away here, which is cool. And I think I have reached the bottom. I have indeed reached the bottom. So there we go. All right. So let's get to Chris's question, because it's an absolute corker. It's a really good question, and if you've never done this thing before, you will thank both me and Chris for bringing this to your attention, because it's a great one. So his question is, how do we go about creating templates, naming them, and saving them so that we can easily get access to them whenever we need to? So user templates are extremely powerful in Studio One. They're pretty powerful in any DAW. I've used most DAWs. I've used Cubase. I used Cubase for many decades. I used Logic a bit. Before it was even Apple Logic, it was eMagic Logic. And what else have I used? Pro Tools. I mean, you know, to be anywhere in a professional environment as a mixing engineer, you need to know Pro Tools. So, of course, I learned Pro Tools because it's kind of something you just have to know. So, I hate Pro Tools with a passion, but I took the time to learn it because I knew it was going to be an important skill to be able to do things in Pro Tools. So, I have not used Pro Tools in several years. So undoubtedly I would be rusty if I was just thrust into a situation where I had to use Pro Tools, but it wouldn't take me very long before I knew, you know, I was familiar with where I was going and what I was doing, in that program. And I have, what else do I have? I have Ableton Live. It's a little outdated version now that I've got. I've got live, Ableton Live Suite 11. Currently I think it's 12 or 13, might be 12.5. I also have Bitwig. What else do I have? I have Fender Studio as well. So I've used most DAWs that have ever been made. Apart from Reaper. I took one look at Reaper and just went, no. Basically. So, being able to make templates in your DAW of choice is critical for being able to get any work done. So, especially if you are working with a band regularly, or you are on a multi-song album project, having a template is critical. Critical to being able to get done what you need to get done, so, and have everything set up ready to go, so that when you finish one song and the band is ready to start cutting the next song, you can easily open a new song with that template that has all the tracks, channels, and buses all set up ready to go, so that you can just immediately just hit record. That's the ideal scenario that you want to get to with a template. Whether that's recording a live band, or whether that's recording with your orchestral sample libraries. You need to have all of that set up so that basically when you create a new song, you're not having to set that all up and get all the routing done for your individual instruments for your orchestral sample library, and then have all of those channels set up and multi-output set up and everything else. You don't have to do that every time you're creating a new song, so you want to have a template for that. I have multiple templates. I have a template for the old Songwriting Simplified show that I did with Jonny. And that template basically had, at the time I was running my audio into Skype through Studio One. So I had an EQ, a compressor, a limiter, and stuff like that on a particular channel for my microphone. Plus, I also had an assortment of samples and sounds and stuff that were just hilarious. I still have that. I don't use it anymore, obviously, because I do Songwriting Simplified on my own, but Jonny's circumstances have changed a wee bit, so I'm hopeful that he and I will be able to start maybe doing a couple of shows together, because it's been a long time, and it would be nice to have him here as a guest at the very least, if not to do, a couple of shows together again, and with him being Skyped in, or not even on Skype anymore, because Skype doesn't exist. We would have to use something else, like Teams, probably, and get him in on that, or Zoom, or something like that. So I'm thinking about that. So I had that as a template. I also have a podcasting template, which I set up for my daughter because she does a football podcast. And so I set it up for her so that she doesn't even need to know Studio One. She can just hit record and she's away. She's got all of her sounds that she needs. She's got her intros, her outros, and all the other samples that she needs to make her show really engaging and interesting. And so I've got all set up in Studio One, and I've shown her how to create a new song and how to hit record, because that's all she needs. I've set that template up for her to do that. So I have multiple templates. They are incredibly useful. So let's get into how do we set one up. And I'm going to basically just set a very basic one up. Okay? And then how do you save it? How do you name it? So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new song, because that is how templates are done. They are done via songs. So you have to start with a song. So let us go over to here, and we'll get me in the top corner there. So from the start page, we need to go new song. Now, here are all my current ones. And of course, I also do the editing of the preaches from my church as well, which is why I've got this sermons template here. This is cool. This has a single track for the preach, and it's got all the plugins I need to just get going. It's got an EQ, it's got a de-esser, it's got a denoise from Isotope, and that's by and largely it. And it's also got a little bit of reverb if I need it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If I think it's too dry, I will add just a hair of reverb. And I've got this blank song template here, which basically does exactly what it says on the tin. It just basically has these settings in it. That's why I've called it blank, because these are my preferred settings for a blank song. I want it in bars. I want the length to be on average 5 minutes, and the tempo should be around about 116. Although this I can change. So if I'm doing a new song and I know what the tempo is, I can just change that. And if I know what the time signature is, again, I can just change those two. It's very quick and easy. So this is the template that I was talking about. Actually, that should be in seconds. And this here should be, this should be 35, because sermons roughly are 35 minutes. So, and then I would just hit OK to change that. And then, of course, we've got record and mix, which is the default one. And then I've got this band mixing template that I created. It has all of this that's the correct information here, which is basically the same as the blank song settings. But the difference here is it's got a whole bunch of channels and buses set up ready to go. All right. So these are my user templates. These are the ones that are built into Studio One that are in templates. So when you create a new one, it will go in here, user. Okay. So we're going to start by going and using the blank song template to get started. Now, my blank song template basically gives me this, and it opens it up to the mixer, because this is where I start. I start with the mixer, and I start with the browser open to the effects tab. Now, quite why all of these are closed, I am not sure, because normally I have these all open. I don't need that one open. But these ones should be open. And the cool thing is, once I've done this, I can save this, and then it will save this status. So I can now scroll all the way down here, and I can open that one. And this one here. This is a nice little compressor, by the way, tape style compressor, which is nice. And then I've got my one and only Waves plugin. After having like 1,500 Waves plugins, this is the only one I've got left. So this is the blank song template. Now, I'm happy with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to here, and I'm going to say save as template. But I've already got this template. So I'm going to go replace existing, which is what I want to do. Now I have to remember where this template is stored. Blank song template, that's the one. So we'll overwrite that, and then we'll go OK. Done. Now that I've got this done, I'm going to close this one, and we'll go again. There's my theme tune. So we'll go back over to the start here. We'll go new, and we'll go blank song here, and we'll open this. And as I correctly predicted, all of these opened as expected. Now, let's say with this, we want to have a bunch of channels, a bunch of bus channels as well. So let's say we are basically recording 2 acoustic guitars. Okay. And this is for an acoustic guitar duo record that we're doing. So we want to create 2 audio channels. So we want to press T, and they're going to be mono. So I am going to do mono, and I'm going to do a channel count of 2, and we'll call this acoustic guitars, or acoustic guitar, I should say, because each one is an individual. And we'll go auto color, and we can also go pack folder, and then mono, and the input is going to be left, and the main output is going to be right. Although at this point here, I could assign a bus to this. If I had like buses already set up, I could assign the output to a bus, but I don't have that right now. So let's go and go okay to both of those. And now those have both appeared. And we've got our packed folder, and we can go to here and we can go add bus channel. And now we've got a bus channel for our folder, and we can also where is that setting? There we go, that one there. Auto expand selected channels, link visibility check, channel console. Okay, so that's good. So when I open and close this folder here, it does it up there as well. Sometimes you may want this, sometimes you may not want this linked at all. Sometimes you don't want that linking to exist. Because you may want the channels in the mixer to be open, but not the tracks. So you may not want that. So you may want to close, uncheck that, and then you can open close that, and you keep the mixer channel as is. Personally, for me, I prefer to why is that grayed out now? There we go. There we go. Personally, I prefer to have it like that, so that anytime I'm opening this folder, this is if I have lots of buses with lots of folders, then I would have this closed just to keep everything nice and clear and uncluttered. So in this case, we've only got 2 guitars, but let's say we also had, bass, and we had drums as well. We could set all of this up and just rinse and repeat the same thing. So let's say we've got let's go and add another track here. Now I think that's added to that folder. Yeah, it has. So let's undo that. I don't know how that happened at all. There we go. Close that folder, right click here, add a mono track. There we go. And this is going to be our bass guitar, or upright bass, because maybe this is our little maybe this is like a little folk kind of thing, and maybe we'll have a small little trap kit as well. So maybe our trap kit will have like 3 channels: kick, snare drum, mono overhead, or kick, snare drum, and stereo overheads. Maybe. So we could set all of those up, and we could pack all of those into a folder, just like we did for the acoustic guitars. So once we've got all of this all set up, then what we can do is we can go, instead of file save as, we go file save as template, and then we give this a title here, and we'd call this folk session setup or something. And then you can even give this a description, setup for 2 acoustic guitars and upright bass. And then we can go, okay. And then what I can do is I can now close this. Do I want to save changes? No, I'm going to say no. That might come back to bite us on the arse, but it probably won't. So now we're going to go back over here. We're going to go new song, but this time we're going to select this guy here, and then we're going to go OK. Now, you'll see that everything that we set up, including the packed folder for the acoustic guitars, is all set. And the bass channel is there as well. Had we also added some EQ and maybe some reverb and delay plugins in, and had sends set up and stuff like that here, all of that would be set up. And when you open the song with the template, all of that gets loaded in. Okay? So I can show you my my preaching template, which I do for the sermons for my church to mix them, edit them, and then put them up onto the church website, I can show you that. So let's close this, because that does have some plugins. So if I go new song, and then if I click on preaching here, let's set this to seconds, set this time again to 35. And I'm not worried about tempo, and I'm not worried about time signature. So I'm just then going to go, okay. And now I have my sermon, which is in bright yellow. And then I have my bus, which is red, because buses are red. And as you can see, I've got RX voice denoise, I've got an SPL DSR, and I've got a couple of EQs. I've got an expander and a limiter on my bus. And then I've got a limiter on the way out as well. So there's lots of limiting going on, which gets it up to the audio book level that I'm aiming for. I'm aiming basically for audiobook sound and audiobook volume levels. So I do quite a lot of limiting. So quite often when whomever is preaching, that limiter can get hit by, can get smacked down like 10 dBs or 12 dBs if they get quite noisy. Or if they get quite animated and quite excited, it can go like 10, 12 dBs, and the limiter can be really slamming. That's okay. For, any other audio material, like a vocal, that'd be way too much. Or a drum set. 10 dB, depends upon the style of music. If it's rock, 10 dB is going to be fine for compression. Limiting, different story maybe. I wouldn't limit quite that much for drum set maybe. Again, depending upon the style of music. For jazz, no, I don't want that much compression happening. Like ever. But when I'm dealing with spoken word, limiting is king, and doing quite a lot of it is also king. But again, you can overdo it. And if you overdo it, you will hear it, because it will sound actually small, and you don't want that. So that's just a little extra tip there for if you are doing a podcast or something like that. Try to avoid overdoing the limiting. Limit quite a lot. Limit more than you would think you would need to. Between 8 and 10 dB is okay on occasion. 5 dB is good for regular audiobook kind of average kind of limiting. If it's hitting negative 5 dB of gain reduction on the limiter in spoken word, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. Occasionally going down to like minus 10 is okay for, louder speaking. That's pretty good. I use a limiter for spoken word rather than a compressor. And there's a reason for that. I have found that with a compressor, it's either going to be too grabby, it's going to grab the sound too fast, even on a slow setting, or it's actually too upfront. So I don't necessarily like to use a compressor when I'm doing spoken word. I like to use limiters instead. And in fact, broadcasters like the BBC, they don't use compressors. They use limiters on their vocal chains. I know this because I have done, over the years, I've done plenty of work for the BBC, and I've been in the BBC studios, and I know their vocal chains, and they have limiters. Sometimes they have limiters in series, so I know that they don't tend to use compressors either. So this for me is invaluable, having this set ready to go, so I can basically bring the audio in from Dropbox or wherever you get the source material from, or even if you're actually recording it in your own studio, you can just start like this, and my track is there, my plugins are there, everything is set, ready to go. All I need to do, hit record, and I'm good to go. Now, sometimes the source audio will be stereo, depends upon where it's come from. So if it's come from the stereo out of a mixer in a church, then it's a stereo file, and I'm okay with it being stereo. Sometimes it's mono. Sometimes they do a mono print, and if I get a mono print, it's fine. I just change the channel condition to mono, and everything's good. But I am prepared for it to be stereo because more often than not, that's what I get. But if I was recording this here right now, I would set this to mono, and I would be good to go. I'm not going to record on this because I don't want my media folder to get filled with unnecessary audio in this template. So this template needs to be kept clean. So I am going to put that back as it was. I'm going to disable the record arm, and I'm going to close this, and I'm not going to save it. All right, so that was a quick whistle stop on how to create multiple different types of templates, save them, label them. You can change the icon as well if you really want to. It has its own default standard icon, but you can change that if you want. There's like a bunch of different icons that are actually already there in Studio One that you can select from, or you can use your own if you really want to. But this is how I do it. Other people do it differently, but this is how I set up templates. I've got a few templates. Some people have a lot more. I know Rich Cresswell has a couple of absolutely gigantic, gargantuan orchestral library setups in his templates. I think one of his templates has over 1,800 channels, which is crazy for me. I don't need that many, but Rich does because he has to have articulations for each instrument on separate channels. So if he's got pizzicato, if he's got mutes, if he's got sforzando samples, they all need to be on their own tracks and their own channels. So that's why he has so many. And then there's all the routing that goes with that. So you can have as many tracks, channels, buses, nested buses, nested buses, folders. You can have effects channels sent to other effects channels. You can have as much complex routing as you want. You can go absolutely crazy. You can have parallel channels all set up, all ready to go. In fact, one of my mixing templates actually has not only bus channels set up, but it also has parallel bus channels set up as well. For when I'm doing something that's a little bit more rock, R&B, or gospel orientated, which occasionally I do, then I've got parallel processing channels for doing parallel compression, because I do parallel compression in those styles of music. Don't really do it for jazz or folk music, to be honest, or orchestral music. It's not necessary. So I have all of those things all set up, ready to go, and I just load that template, and I'm ready to start either recording with artists, or I'm ready to record my own thing. And it's instantaneous. It means it takes all of that setup time away. So there you go. I hope that answers your question, Chris. It was a good one, and it was a good I think it's a good reminder. I think a good reminder of how to set all these things up, and make them work, and make it easy for yourself to sorry, I'm trying to fix one of my templates because it's gone a little bit crazy. There we go, fixed. So yeah, the templates are the best thing about DAWs, because you can't really do this on a console. In fact, it's impossible to do this on a console. You have to zero out the console and start fresh every time. Whereas with this, you don't. Now, there are things you can do on a console by way of creating things and setting things up where it is a little bit more like a template. For example, you can have a dedicated vocal chain that's set up on one specific channel, and you know that's the vocal chain, and you have your outboard gear patched to that chain. So you have an outboard EQ, an outboard compressor going into the compressor and EQ that's on the channel. You can have all of that set. So that's kind of similar, but doing this in a DAW, so much easier. Once you've got it all set up, that's it. That's the only investment of time you need to do to make that work for you. And then anytime you know you're going to be working on something orchestral, you can just open that particular template. Done. It's all set up for you. You're ready to hit record and go in seconds, literally. So templates are your best friend. Make use of them. Use them to your advantage. Kyle Trajuziak has a really great mixing template with lots of folders and nested folder buses and all of that. It's incredibly complex how he has it all set up, but it really, really works for him. It means all he has to do is create a new song, loading that template, all the channels and all the folders and everything, all the buses, they are all there, ready for him to go. All he has to do is bring the audio in, and he's ready to start his mixing process. And it just makes doing a lot of mixes in a day's work really easy. And you know, it makes, if for example, going back to our little folk acoustic trio for a second, if I have them in here in this room and they're recording into my Quantum HD8, I've got all of that set up, I've got the template set up, and we can just go through song after song after song after song. And of course, the beauty about Studio One is I can have all of these songs open whilst we're working. So if we decide, you know, we get to, you know, having done songs 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then after lunch we decide we're going to go and revisit song number 2 to replace a guitar solo section that didn't really cut very well. So we just open, you know, go and select that song. It opens up. It's there. We go cut that, you know, drop that solo in, especially using the new punch and roll stuff that we've now got in Studio One 7, and away you go. And then we can just go back to song 4, or we can say, hey, you know, we're happy with those. Let's move on to song 5. So I just create a new song, load it using that template, title it song 5, hit the record arm buttons, hit record, and everybody's good to go. And it takes me literally just a few seconds. Whilst they're, you know, sitting down in their playing positions with getting the capo in the right spot. If they're using a capo, capo, whatever you want to call it, capo, capo, cupo, I don't care what you call it. That thing that means you can cheat on the guitar. That's what I'm talking about. You know, whilst they're getting those in the right position, whilst they're getting their charts set out on the music stand, I'm doing my part here, and I'm getting the template ready, and I'm getting their record arm buttons on their channels ready to go, and I'm listening to them doodling to make sure I'm getting a decent signal into Studio One, and I might even use the auto gain on the HD8 just to be sure, whilst they're just tuning their guitars. And then they're ready to go, I'm ready to go. No time is wasted. So templates are your best friend, and they are where it's at if you are going to be doing anything, either as an amateur, as a hobbyist, but especially if you're a professional, because if you're working in the professional industry and you're charging money, then time spent setting things up at the start of every blank new song is time wasted, which means that over time, your hourly rate, so to speak, is less. You want to get more done for less time, is what I'm talking about if you are working professionally, because it means that you earn more money per time, basically. So templates will help you get that done faster. All right, let's see. Chris says, if you save a song in a template, doesn't it overwrite it? No, you're basically just using the template to create the song. You're not saving the song as a template. So with one of the other templates, let's go back to, let's open up a new song. Let's go back to our folk little thing we've got going on here. So if I go back over here, so here's my little folk setup. When we are done recording in this song, we're using the template to load the song. We're not going to save this as a template. So once people have recorded in here, I'm going to go File, and I'm going to go Save, or Save As is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go Save as Template. Because if I do Save as Template, then all of that audio will be saved in the template, and I don't want that. I want it to be saved in the song, right? So yes, technically it is a song. Templates are technically songs, but to make sure that when you save this, you are saving this as a song and not as a template, go to File, Save As, and then, give it the song's name or whatever file name you need to give it. Don't do Save as Template. If you do Save as Template, Chris, you're absolutely right. It will overwrite it. And when you load your template, it will load forever with those audio files in the pool and in the song. You don't want that. You want this to be clean and crisp. So when I'm doing the preaching thing, if I close this, I go back to the preaching template that I showed you. So if I go new song, and I go back over here and I change this back to 35, because it's roughly 35 minutes, and we set that back to seconds, and I go save here. So now if I bring the audio in from Dropbox, which is usually how they send the audio to me, I just drag it in on here. I do whatever I need to do to process it, to EQ it, to I will adjust stuff in here. I will cut things out that need to get cut out. And I use Ripple Edit to do that. Then once I'm done, I will go up here and I will just go File and I'll go Save As. Okay. But I'll also do rename, because I don't need it to have this title, this date and support title, because I'm using my work profile at the moment. So I don't need it to say that. I want it to say whomever the preacher is and whatever the date of the preach was. So I need that to be there. So the first thing I will do is I will go rename. I'll rename it. I'll put whomever the preacher is and the date and all of that. And then I will do Save As. And then I'll save it as that person's name plus the date. And then I can carry on. I can finish up. And once I've finished up, I do the export mix down. And then I close it. But then the next time, when there's a new preach, because it's next week, it's next Sunday, and they send me the next one, it's going to be a different preacher, right? But I will create a new song using this template, and this template has no audio in it. So if I go into the pool, there's nothing there. I've used this template probably over the last 12 years. I would say I've used this template thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of times. And every time I load it in, there's nothing in the pool, because I never do Save As Template. And that's the thing. You want to be careful. When you save whatever song it is you're working in, whether it's music or whether it's audio for an audiobook or a podcast or preaching to go up on your church's website, whatever it might be, always make sure you do File Save As. You don't do Save as Template. If you do Save as Template, like I showed you before, when that dialog box comes up, it gives you the option to replace existing. And then it will overwrite. Okay? So there's always a fail safe every time. So to make sure that you're not going to save your template by mistake. But that's a good question. All right, let's go see what else there is. Hang on a second. What's going on here? There we go. Dwayne says digital mixers make use of projects and scenes. Is that sort of like templates in Studio One? Yeah, kind of is. Kind of is exactly right. Dave says Kyle's template sent me to my neurosurgeon. Yeah, it's yeah. Kyle's one is pretty complicated. But it works well for him. Studio One projects can also have predefined templates. Yes, it can. There are a whole bunch of predefined templates that are already made, and you can just basically create a song using those. Templates basically bring in all of your default settings for a particular process. Correct. Absolutely correct. Does the project page have templates? That's a great question. Probably does. These days I don't really do a whole lot of mastering, so I don't really use the project page nearly as much as I used to. A few years ago, I was doing a lot of mastering, so I was using the project page a lot. And actually, I tended to, because each album is kind of unique, didn't really see the point of templates because each album is unique. So the audio for each song is going to be completely unique. And since I'm doing a 5, anything between a 6, 8, or 15 song album, then each song is going to be unique, and all of the songs are going to be in the same project. So I don't really see the necessity for templates. But yeah, like I said, not really ever done it. Great question. We've got 10 minutes left, folks. But just to say, the New Orleans Studio One meetup starts immediately after this show. So when we finish in 10 minutes time, please do make your way over to Billy's Studio One meetup, which starts in 10 minutes time. So this is your 10-minute warning. So we got like 25 people here, which is pretty good. It's not a record. Our record, I think, stands at 35. So if we could equal that, that would be nice. But like I said, we've only got 10 minutes left. Let's see, anything else? Dave Barslow says, I have a hard time using templates. I really see no reason on my end. I just don't have anything large enough. If you're only recording one instrument or two instruments, maybe you can forego it. But if you know that you're going to be using the same plugins like regularly on a particular, let's say you record yourself and a keyboard, a virtual keyboard, like yourself and Presence, for example. Maybe create a little template that just has those two things on it. That's fine. And especially if you know you're going to have a particular EQ, a particular compressor, and a particular reverb and delay presets. And you want those on your channels and on your sends. And you want them set exactly how you like them for your vocal channel. And then you want a particular, I don't know, piano sound from Presence or something. Select those. Set them up, make a template out of it. And then if you know you're going to use that regularly, then you can just create a new song, select that template, and then those things will be loaded in, and they're there, ready for you to go. You just hit record. It means having templates saves you a lot of time for having to set that stuff up in the first place. So that's what templates are really powerful for. And you don't have to have hundreds of channels. Like you saw in my little preacher one. There's just one channel and one bus. That's it. I could ostensibly set that up every single time. But I have the a particular de-esser preset that I use. So the DS is not just that particular de-esser, it's that particular de-esser with a particular preset loaded. It is also particular denoise settings. I have a preset made there. It's all set up. It's all ready to go. I also have a preset that I have made for EQ, because I know what mic gets used, so I know what that mic sounds like, and so I can EQ accordingly. And then I have limiter settings also set up in presets. So all of those are set up, ready to go. So all I need to do is just drag the audio in, and actually I can concentrate on the editing and not fiddling about with EQ and compressor settings. Saves me a lot of time. It means, I can get, a 40 minutes, a 40-minute preach done in 5 minutes, because all I'm doing is I'm focusing on editing. And then for audiobooks, I have a different a different template and a different bunch of settings. They're similar to the preaching one, but not quite the same. And again, I could do a 3-hour audiobook session with a client, and it's really, really straightforward to do. And it means I can do an export mix down at the end of the session, and I can send them, what the chapters that we've recorded today, so they can listen to it on, an iPhone with earbuds or something, so they can see what it's going to sound like for the classic listener to audiobooks using earbuds. And they can, sit in the back of their car with the engine running, and they can see, hey, how does this sound in that kind of environment? So, yeah, templates are incredibly powerful, Dave. Really they are. And actually, they're not as complicated as you think. I know I've kind of gone through this quite quickly. So maybe when the show is no longer live and it's in replay mode, or it's as a video on my channel, go find the particular section where I actually demonstrate it and watch it a few times, and then see if it helps you. All right, so we got about 4 minutes to go before the New Orleans Studio One meetup. So if you guys don't have any further questions, then what we will do is we'll finish just a few minutes early, so that you guys can go and use the bathroom, or make more coffee, or whatever you want to do, or go and grab beers, whatever you want to do, ready for Billy's New Orleans meetup, so that you can be ready for that. We can do that. If there are no further questions, we will just kind of finish there. I'll give it a few seconds first, though. And see if there are any other questions before we call it a night. Kyle says, I had a template for my project to bring in ear correction set up on the listening. Oh, great. Okay. So you have room correction set up on the listen bus for the project page. Okay, that's pretty cool. Pepper out to the music. My dear friend Lloyd is here, and he says, thank you. Excellent session. You are most welcome, my friend. I hope that this has been useful. Thank you very much to Chris Marachner for suggesting this as a topic to cover, because this was a good one. To be fair, I use templates so often I kind of forget how powerful and how useful they are. And I guess that's probably why I don't think I've ever actually made a standalone video on the subject of templates. And that's an oversight on my part. So, Chris, thank you for bringing that one up. And hopefully doing it in the form of a live stream here is going to help people as well. Maybe I will cut this particular section out of the video, the section where I demonstrated the templates. Maybe cut that out and maybe turn that into a standalone video, perhaps. That's definitely something I'm thinking about doing. maybe putting it in as a short, because I don't think it was a very long little demo. It might have been 5 minutes, so maybe it might be worth having that as a short on YouTube. I don't think I've ever done shorts on YouTube. I don't think I've even ever worn shorts on YouTube either. So, yeah. Maybe it's time for things to change. Maybe I should start doing shorts on YouTube. That's given me some food for thought and some ideas as well. All right, folks, we're gonna call it there. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming tonight, and thank you again for the great questions and the great topic as well. Head on over to the New Orleans Studio One meetup, and I will see you all next week on Sunday for Sunday Night Live. No Songwriting Simplified show this week because I am going to be out here on vacation with my kids and my wife. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not really looking forward to the stormy conditions. So for those of you that do pray, please pray for us. It looks like it's going to be a nasty one. So yeah, please do. Think of us, pray for us, whatever works for you. We would appreciate it a lot. And I will see you back here on Sunday, hopefully with a roof. So I will see you then, folks. Good night, everybody. Have a great week. See you on Sunday.
Bye.